Welcome to Travel Explore Celebrate Life with Veena World. I'm Neil, and as always, I'm joined by Sunila. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you're watching it on YouTube, well, as you can see, we are both back in India. I was in Finland. Before that, Sunila was in Australia. But today we are going to talk about incredible India again. And today we are going to talk about God's own country, Kerala. Well, Kerala is a state that I would say, Sunila, is an all round the year destination, right? You can go at any time. What do you think?
Yes, Neil, definitely. And it shows different things at different times. So, we are coming close to the monsoons, and Kerala is really stunning in the monsoons as well. I have been there twice in the monsoons, and I've actually even done like the snake boat race. So, not the snake boat, but similar boat. And I've been there in the rains in the monsoon. So, yes, it can be a lot of fun at all times. And Onam is coming. I mean, August 30th is Onam festival. So yes, if you want to catch the snake boat, that's a great time to be there in Kerala as well. And then the winter. I mean, winter is really stunning in Kerala. So yeah, you're right. It is a year-round destination.
Awesome. So, guys, we decided that this episode, we don't want to talk about Kerala just as a general state to travel to, but we thought of where to stay in Kerala because Kerala is one of those, I would say, Sunila, innovative destinations, right? Where you can stay at a hotel and they are great hotels, right? We use a lot of the hotels in our tours and they are like incredible hotels. But at the same time, at the same time, you have a lot of these innovative stays that you can have in different parts of Kerala. So there is, of course, Cochin, there is Trivandrum, there's Periyar, there's Alippi, there's Varkala, and many more. And we'll keep talking about it. So where should we start, Sunila? What do you think?
Neil, you're absolutely right. I mean, Kerala is an amazing destination, and the geography itself, it's so elongated. Like if you look at the map of India, it's like this long stretch of land, which means that they have so many beaches. So of course, beach stays, it's really easy. And as Kerala has developed, Neil, I think different places have come up. Like traditionally, typically, you mentioned Varkala. We know that as one of the beach places to go to. So just to stay on the beach, you have stayed at the Leela Kovalam, which is now the Ravi's Kovalam. So that again is an amazing stay, and it's right on top of the cliff. So staying on the beach side, on top of a cliff, or actually being able to walk out to a beach is definitely possible in Kerala. And I think that is exactly where I'd like to start, is to a beach stay in Kerala. So you can definitely go and stay on one of these properties which are right by the beach. You can walk to the beaches. You can stay at cliff top resorts, which give you this view of the beach, and the entire coast. And now, I mean, earlier it was more in the south, but now places like Bekal have also come up, which are more in the north, and they have some amazing luxurious properties as well. And then it's actually, you have to go to Kannur. It's easier to go from there to Bekal, and it's a great place to stay there as well.
Yeah, so that's number one on the list, right? A cliff stay. Well, of course, you get that at Kovalam, you get that at Varkala also, where there is like this unique northern cliff adjacent to the Arabian Sea. And like you said, Varkala Beach, which is also known as Papanasam Beach. And it is believed that, like if you take a dip into the waters of Varkala Beach, it's going to wash away all of your sins. One thing I'd like to say about a cliff stay, many people don't realize that how fun a cliff stay is because guys, generally when we stay at beachfront hotels, you have the hotel, then you have a beach, and then you have the sea with you. But when you're staying on a cliff, just eliminate that beach because you'll have a view of just the ocean. And I think that is something that is incredible. And of course, in Kovalam, when we stayed at the Ravis, it just felt incredible. I would say that was one of the best hotels back then, a few years ago, of course, in India. So that is one type of stay. So there is the cliff stay, Sunila, that you can get. Now, from cliffs, let's come to what Kerala's famous for. And Kerala's often known for its backwaters. And in the backwaters, even when you're doing a boat ride, you see many boats which are often known as the houseboats. And well, these are generally like, these marvelous houseboats are generally modified versions of back in the day, they used to be called the Ketuvalams. And they used to sail here. But now you see these houseboats. So tell us a little bit about houseboats.
Neil, the Ketuvalam is like the traditional Kerala houseboat, and it's made with a lot of coconut and natural fibers. So, that's I have this thing with everything that is eco-friendly. And when things are eco-friendly, you have to be ready to maybe rough it out a little bit, because there is some amount of luxury that you have to compromise when anything anywhere is eco-friendly. And that holds true even for some of the properties. Of course, it makes you're feeling really nice because you're helping ecology, you're helping the environment, but which does mean that you must take certain precautions. And the same holds for the backwaters, whether it is the traditional or whether there are some of the modern houseboats as well. What you must be aware is usually the houseboat will not sail at night. So you may have this image of a houseboat sailing everywhere in the backwaters. That is usually done in the day, and which is for your own safety. So the houseboat will sail in the day. By night they find a nice place to kind of anchor, and you stay overnight on the houseboat there. And in the morning all your meals are served on the houseboat, so it's really quite a lot of fun. Sometimes you can even fish on the houseboat and catch some fish, or you may find some vendor traveling in the other direction on another boat, and you can buy some things from them. You can buy fresh fish, you can buy other coconuts or whatever you want, like some vegetables or stuff, and the chef will cook it for you. I have known some people who really don't like a houseboat at all because they feel very unsteady or unstable or worried. There's nothing to worry in that sense about staying because it's quite safe. But some people can't take the idea, or the sometimes the fuel that they use for the houseboat, that kind of bothers them. So it's a personal choice. And if you're ready, it's definitely something you should never miss. Yes, if you don't want to stay on it, then I would suggest take a backwaters ride, because that is easily doable in the day and you can do like a 2, 3, 4 hours ride. So definitely don't miss the boat ride. Now, whether you want to stay on the houseboat or whether you want to just take a ride is something you should decide earlier on, and definitely go ahead with the bookings.
I think one important point you mentioned is that you should remember that you're compromising slightly on luxury. Of course, there are luxury houseboats also now, but yeah, it's a very different vibe. And I was going to ask you that if in the evening, because you're by the water, you're
Mhm.
having dinners on the houseboat, do you think mosquitoes become a problem?
It can be, Neil, but of course now you have a lot of mosquito repellents and all of that, so it doesn't really bother you that much. But yes, if someone is very particular about that, not just mosquitoes, there may be a little other flies, because you are in nature. I mean, it is nature at work, so you can't really stop that. Though most of the houseboats do come with good facilities, they're quite comfortable. One point I want to mention here is, not necessarily your houseboat will be private. So sometimes there are more than 2 rooms, 3 rooms, or maybe 4 rooms on the houseboat, and you may share the common area with other people. So if you want a private houseboat, then you have to specify and make sure that you know what you're booking. Of course, that's going to be a little more expensive, but be ready to. I think it's quite nice also to have some neighbors and share it on the houseboat. Or if you're a big family, then yes, there's no problem with that.
It's a very nice vibe when you're in the houseboat, and if you're sailing, like it's nice to admire like the lush paddy fields and the coconut trees that are like on both sides, right? So
Especially
that's
the
one good
mornings,
thing.
Neil. The mornings are really stunning because like it's quite pitch dark, and then when the sun breaks and you suddenly realize, hey, you're outdoors, you're in nature. It's really beautiful.
And then what about the food? Like the food is just like a multi cuisine thing, or do you get local Kerala food?
You can get local Kerala food. So mostly it will be local Kerala food with a little bit of other cuisines included. And like I said, if you are a seafood lover, then it is really nice because it's really fresh out there.
So I also have this one question regarding Kumarakam. Now Kumarakam is set in the backdrop of like Vembanad Lake, right? And that is the largest lake in
Mhm.
Kerala. So does Kumarakam also have houseboats?
Neil, most of the houseboats, yes, there are houseboats in the backwaters, Kumarkam, Alleppey. You can have different places which are have the houseboats. Some of them are privately owned. Like, for example, some are attached to a hotel as well. Oberoi has their own houseboat as well. So you have this really nice, luxurious houseboat by the Oberois, which you can choose to be there. But you mentioned Kumarkam, and that brings me actually to our next day, which is staying by the backwaters. And this
Ah,
that there are actually 2 points in this. So because the backwaters are the ocean coming, moving inside the land, and you mentioned Vembanad Lake as well, so you can actually stay by the lake, and you can be in the backwaters at the same time. So Kumarkam Lake Resort, the name itself tells you it's a lake resort. It's by Vembanad Lake.
I've
Or
stayed there.
Zuri.
Yes.
You've stayed there,
Yes.
right? And then Zuri as well. So these are some of the properties that are really luxurious. And there's so many more. I mean, it's difficult to list all of them here, but there are just so many properties. And you actually, the lake, I remember I went for a site inspection a few years back, and the Vembanad Lake looked like the ocean. It was that big. Like I was standing on the banks of the Zuri and I said, wow, this lake is amazing. And they had this pool in the pool villa. So you're in your room, you have the pool in front of you, and then you have the lake in front of you. So it was really quite stunning. So on the one hand, you can choose to be in the lake, and you were in Kumarkam Lake Resort. So Kumarkam Lake Resort also has a lot of meandering pool villas. So the pool kind of stretches back into the rooms, and you have direct access to the pool from your room as well. Also, I think the decor, like KLR, which Kumarkam Lake Resort is known as, reminds you that you are in Kerala.
Yeah.
Some of the hotels in Kerala are very modern. You could be anywhere in the world, and some of them have still maintained and retained that traditional look. So I think Kerala definitely reminds you that you are in Kerala. So again, that's a personal choice. What kind of a decor do you want?
So, I just wanted to make one point over here, just to anyone listening or viewing on YouTube, that Kerala is a great state for aerial photography. So if you have a drone, and of course, drone laws in India are very strict. So you have to decide whether it's a green zone that you're in, or the yellow zone, or the red zone. Red, can't fly. Yellow, you need permission. Green, you can fly. But because hotels or the hotel spaces are laid out in such a way where there's, like you said, a pool is just meandering through the hotel, there are coconut trees around and all of that, aerial photography becomes a great opportunity in Kerala. And if you
Yes.
are a drone lover, if you even have a small drone that you use at home, I would recommend taking it, because flying in between cities in India, you can take your drone. That's not a problem at all. You just have to be careful that you're not flying it in a no-fly zone. So just make sure of that, but you get great shots. I have tried that, and it is incredible. Let's come back to the episode, Sunila. So of course,
No, but
yeah.
Neil, it's really interesting because, when you look at and when you Google photos of Kerala, the most interesting ones are the ones that are aerial, because you can see the narrow backwaters, you can see the, lush green palm trees everywhere, the coconut trees, and it looks so beautiful. So I'm glad you brought that point up.
But aerial photography, when you're trying to market a destination, can also be deceptive, right? Because you can see that shot from up there, but when we are going to the destination, it's like right in front of us, right?
Yes.
So often it'll look great from the aerial photography, but when you're there, you're like, I didn't imagine it to be this way, right?
Maybe you don't recognize that it's the same place, right?
Exactly.
Mm.
So we spoke of cliffs, we spoke of houseboats, we spoke of backwater
Lakes.
resorts.
No, but I want to come back to the backwater resort point, because I still have one more point to make there. So we spoke of the backwater resorts, but we spoke of the lakeside resorts more.
Mhm.
There are some resorts that really make you feel like you are in the backwaters. And just imagine if you are checking in, and to go to check in, Neil, how do you check in usually? You would drive up in your car or your coach or whatever it is, and then you check in. But to go to some resorts in Kerala, you actually have to go by boat. So you stop at one place, then you're transferred into a boat, and the boat goes through a canal, and then you reach the resort. So I just find that extremely, charming, that it makes you feel, because you just go into holiday mode. And Coconut Lagoon is one such resort in Kerala, which is right in the backwaters. I'm not surprised that it is so popular for the inbound tourists. They really love it. And there was a time that they would just block the property for days on, and I told them, look, as domestic travelers in India, we don't get to experience this. So, of course, things have changed now, and you can visit, and inbound is also coming back, and people are coming back into India. But this is really one place where you sit in that little boat, and you see this person serving tea also on the boat. And then you're going through the canal, and then you land, and then you go and check in. So, for a true backwater stay, choose a property which is really in the backwaters. There are quite a few, some homestays and some different places as well, boutique properties as well. But again, like coming back to the point, make sure that you know what all is included, because when you're in natural surroundings, you may not have all the facilities that you expect somewhere else, though they are very comfortable and very luxurious, but just check the inclusions.
Talking about checking in, and some most of the time you're just like hopping out of a car or a
Mhm.
bus or a minivan, taking your luggage, going to the check-in counter. But there are so many resorts that have like different ways of checking in, right? Like, remember we spoke about that Oman resort where you can like paraglide
So,
into
yes,
the hotel
yes,
to check in. That
yeah.
was something
Ziggy
incredible.
Bay. Yeah, at
Yeah,
Ziggy
that's
Bay, you can
Oman, right?
actually, yeah, it's Oman.
Yeah. So okay, so that is one way of doing it. But see, um, Kerala is also all about the tea plantations,
Mhm.
right? And am I right? Tea plantations? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So tea
Munnar,
plantations.
the
Yes,
home of tea
exactly. So
plantation.
I'm sure there will be things regarding tea plantations also, right? Like stays associated with tea plantations. Tell us a little bit about that.
Definitely, Neil. I mean, you can stay in the tea plantations, and it's really something you can't miss. There are quite a few properties that offer you that. So, in Munnar and in some of the other places as well. Just imagine, I think we've seen the tea plantations in what was that, Kashmir se Kanyakumari, the Chennai Express song. That really showcases Munnar's tea plantations quite beautifully, and so do many other movies. But some of these resorts are right in the plantation, and the good part when you stay in the plantation itself is you can go off on a plantation tour. You can go and visit and see the different kinds of teas that are grown there. You get oriented to what kind of different tea leaves and all of that. And also there are spice plantations, so you can go off on a spice tour as well. And Kerala is really well known. Wayanad, Tekkady, Periyar, Munnar, all of these places also have spice plantations. So cardamom and pepper, and it's really nice. And I've been in a spice plantation and I've stayed there, and in a coffee plantation as well. It's so green. It's unimaginable how lush green it is, and just the sights and the sounds of the forest and the plantation when you're there, it's enough to relax you. You feel like, I don't want to even see anything. For me, just being here is enough. I don't want to go anywhere, though there are a lot of things to do. But the resort's also quite comfortable and they keep you busy throughout the day. So it could be probably that if you're looking for a very relaxed, nice holiday, definitely choose a plantation stay, because there are enough things to do in the resort itself. So you are surrounded by lush green, tea plantations, spice plantations, and amazing photography. You mentioned photography. Some of the best photographs are in the plantations. So, there are bungalows as well. There are luxury bungalows as well, which you can rent. If you're a bigger family, you can have cottages and have your own little butler or whatever and be in these plantations.
So you mentioned Munnar. So there's Mattupetti Dam over there, right? So
Mhm.
if you're like doing a boat ride in that dam, I think it's famous for its still water, and it's surrounded by all of these tea gardens and tea plantations. So the still water gives you a good like reflection of the tea plantations, and that becomes a good photo opportunity. And when you're in Munnar, there is also the Tata Tea Museum. So the Tata Tea is, I
Yes.
think, the second largest distributor and producer of tea. So there you can get to know a lot about the history of tea and like the entire process that goes into making tea. So of course, tea plantations and the stays associated with them are quite incredible. And speaking of tea plantations, and also you mentioned spices, and Periyar is known as the spice village, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of the spice trade used to happen from there. Associated with that are also like places in Wayanad, right? There may not be
Yes.
tea plantations, but more so like would you call them tree house stays or something?
There's something very special in Wayanad, and the image of Wayanad, like whatever I've seen, and I have been there, and you have been there as well, I think. Uh, but the images that I see never leave me, because most of these, of course, are taken during monsoon. So everything is even more lush green than usual. But they have some amazing tree houses there. And Y3 Resort is one such property, which has not one or two, but actually five tree houses, different heights. And then there are these walkways or hanging bridges to reach the tree houses, and you can actually go up and stay in the tree house. So when you wake up in the morning, you have a natural alarm clock, the birds are singing, you know, uh, if you, the only thing with that, I mean, the other disadvantage is that you cannot really carry everything. So what they would suggest is just carry something that you need for the overnight, because just think of it, a big suitcase of 15-20 kilos to take it up the tree house is not very practical. And again, all of this is on solar energy. It's they would use everything natural to do that.
So,
um,
wait, I just wanted to interrupt you over here. So, see, you mentioned a resort like Y3 in Wayanad, right? There is a tree house. What if someone wants to just witness the tree house and not stay in there? They'll have different other, like
they have
different options.
other
Yeah.
resort, the other accommodation as well. So tree houses are just one part of it. They do have like normal cottages and normal rooms, some of them with pools as well, and other places. So you can easily stay in any of the other accommodation and just go and have a look at the tree house and see how it is. But if you do want to stay there, that's possible. And just think of it, Neil, 50-60 feet up in the air you are living there. So I think for one night, it's definitely something you can try it out and be there. Of course, there's no food or things that are served in the treehouse. It's just not practical. And also, I think you should not be really scared of heights in that sense, because
Yeah.
you will be up there. But it can make for a wonderful stay. And I think for a lot of honeymoon couples really love it. They love to do that. And you can combine that with a stay by a waterfall. So on the
Hmm.
one end, you're up in the tree house, you're there and you're enjoying that. And then you can be right next to a waterfall in this area as well. And Athirapalli is a place that comes to mind. You've seen the movie Guru, and you had Aishwarya Rai singing her songs there, and the waterfall which became so popular. That is Athirapalli, and the resort there gives you some rooms that are so close to the waterfall. It's really stunning. So yes, on the one hand you have tree houses, but on the other hand you do have a waterfall stay in Kerala. That is also possible.
Yeah. And so, I think your job on this podcast is to like tell us about all of these places. But
Yeah.
I think I also want to butt in there and be like, okay, guys, this is there, but let me also tell you that, you should be warned about this. So the
Yes.
treehouse stay, again, I'll warn that being the forest, evening, any light is going to attract mosquitoes and insects. So Odomos is your best friend, right? So, but these resorts in Wayanad also take you on night trails, where they
Yeah.
take you on night trails, probably a 30-minute walk, but they show you the animals or the wildlife of the night. So there's like small green snakes that they'll find, or they'll show you some spiders, tell you which are like venomous, which are not, and all of those things. So that's pretty good. So we spoke of cliff resorts, we spoke
Beach,
of
cliff,
beach, tree houses,
lakes,
lakes, backwaters,
backwaters,
houseboats,
plantation stays,
plantation stays. Do you think
tree
we
houses.
we've missed out on anything? What do you think?
Neil, I have like, I think maybe just one or two more.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is a floating cottage,
Oh, nice.
which is possible on the lake or on the backwaters again, but these are floating cottages. And some of the places in Kerala are so narrow that it's actually like an island itself. So this is also an island which has its own floating cottages. So at Puvar, you have the Puvar Island Resort, and they have about 12 floating cottages. And then I think 12 or 16, I'm not really sure. But these are actually right on the water, so they have a separate living area, and then they do have the other normal resorts. And again, similar to the floating cottage, one condition about the tree house is that depending on the height, children are often not allowed, so it is a little bit more for adults. So that's something to keep in mind. Some of the tree houses that are a little shorter, like closer to the ground, there would be children simply for safety, and the same holds true for a floating cottage as well, where sometimes infants may not be allowed, because you definitely don't want an infant crawling out of your cottage into the lake, and just for safety sake. But these are really beautiful ideas for your honeymoon in Kerala. If you're looking for one for just even friends going out, or basically for adults out there in Kerala. So yes, floating cottages, and again you're right on the water and in the lake or by the ocean. So just think of it. It's so stunning to be on a floating cottage in Kerala.
I've actually stayed at Puvar Island, and I've stayed in one of those floating cottages. It is quite nice. And one of the best things of going to Kerala is the food. You can enjoy like a
Yes.
meal on the banana leaf, right? And that is a very traditional meal. And we offer that in all of our tours also. And that becomes one of the highlights because people love it. Vegetarians or non-vegetarians, you get a lot. So that's one incredible thing. Of course, there's Cochin, which has like very legacy hotels, right? There's, I think, Brunton Boatyard is
Yes,
in
Neil.
in
That was
Cochin,
my
right?
last point. So,
Okay,
yes,
leaving it to
you
you.
can go ahead and then I'll join in.
No,
Yeah.
because I just like traditional looking where the
Yes.
legacy's like been preserved and all of that. So that was Cochin. I was researching on Cochin because I was looking at the Chinese fishing nets that
Yeah.
form part of Cochin, and you see them everywhere, right? So while I was researching that, I came across like Brunton Boatyard, and I had checked it out much a long time ago. And then another interesting point was like there is the Dutch Palace near Cochin,
Yeah.
which is not actually built by the Dutch, but it was built by the Portuguese. But it's called Dutch Palace because the Dutch decided to repair it. So
Mm.
that was pretty good. But when you're there, like yeah, if you're looking for a luxury stay, I think that's one, right?
Fort Kochi is very intriguing, and I think most people use Cochin just for transit. We fly into Cochin, and then you make your way towards Munnar, Alleppey, or whatever, whichever other place you want to go to. And very often, people just use Cochin to fly in and fly out. I've actually, I think almost every time I've gone to Kerala, I've stayed in Cochin, and you can do these really charming, nice tours of Cochin itself with the fishing nets that you mentioned, or the old city. And to visit the old city, one must make our way towards Fort Kochi and Brunton's Boatyard, like you mentioned. There are a lot of places here which show you these historic roots. So Portuguese, Dutch, British influence, the colonial charm, as we call it, is so evident here. And walking through these streets, being there, and you mentioned the hotels, Neil. So it's really something that, at least for one night on your way out, when you're finishing your entire holiday, just come back, enjoy Cochin, do your shopping, and there's so much to shop in Kerala. It's never enough. And stay in Fort Kochi and then go back, because even when you're here, you can go fishing, you can have a boat cruise, you can do backwater cycling. So you can take your cycles out. So there are lots of things to keep you busy as well. There are quite a few things to see. You have the beach, you have backwaters, you have the city so close by. So yeah, it's a great place to shop, enjoy, stay for the night, and then make your way out.
I think Cochin becomes a good end point for our episode also, right? Because Cochin is a good place to start your tour and also end your tour. If you're doing Cochin to Cochin, and one of our itineraries actually does that, what it
Mhm.
does is that you're seeing all of Kerala. So you can go to Jatayu Earth Center, which is like the largest bird sculpture in the world, and we have spoken about that
Yes.
on an episode, I think last year. And so when you're doing Cochin to Cochin, it gives you an advantage of seeing God's own country entirely. Well, often there is also Cochin to Trivandrum or Trivandrum to Cochin, right? You are
Yeah,
saying
Neil,
something.
I just realized we've forgotten one of the most important things in Kerala, which of course is offered in all these hotels, many hotels, but that is wellness and Ayurveda. I mean, you have resorts where you can just check in for a week or 10 days, 15 days, or even 3 days simply to go through the whole process of Ayurveda. So that is something I think we must include in the episode, because it's really important. And wellness is such a big part of Kerala. I think even just being there, you already start feeling better with the whole beautiful landscapes and the scenery. But yes, entire Ayurvedic treatments can be done starting from 3 nights, 5 nights, 7 nights, 21 nights as well. So that's something we should definitely include.
Like some of our guests actually decided to go work from there, right? And that is why they
Yes.
decided to take these Ayurvedic treatments when they are
Yeah.
not on Zoom calls or any of the Microsoft Teams calls. So that is also a good idea. If you're working from home, don't work from home in Mumbai or Pune or wherever you are. Just go to Kerala and enjoy these Ayurvedic treatments that they are pretty good. Awesome. So let's end it on this, Sunila. What do you
Yes,
think?
Neil, I think
Yes,
we've kind of covered
covered
everything.
a
Yes,
lot
most
of
of
it,
it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so, guys. Those were the best of Kerala, different options. One of the best things about Kerala is that great hotels, great places to stay, great food. Like Sunila said, good shopping too. Transport is also good because all of the transporters there have great buses, great cars, great minivans. So that is why I think Kerala should be on your bucket list for 2022.
Yeah, Neil. And one more thing is that there are options in all levels. So, be it an economy, be it budgeted stay, or be it a luxurious stay, you have the whole range. Plus, you have some places which have attached pool villas, so you can have a pool attached to your room. And another thing that is really unique to Kerala is the open to sky bathroom. A lot of resorts, like we mentioned ecology and we mentioned eco-friendly, and to really give you that feeling of being in nature, a lot of the resorts, even from the economic to the luxury or the entire range, have bathrooms that actually have no roof, so you are taking your shower in nature.
Yeah, I've done that. I think KLR Kumarakom Lake
Also
Resort
has it,
also offers
yes.
that. So that should be also something that we mention a lot of the times, because some people really like it, and then it's
Some
very
do
good, and
just,
some people just don't
yeah,
like it. So
yeah.
that's there. Great, Sunila, thank you very much. Listeners, viewers, thank you so much for your support. And every week you tune in to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. We'll keep coming up with new episodes every Saturday. So keep tuning in, and hopefully you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for tuning in to Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life with Veena World. This is Neil and Sunila signing off. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.